Hi, this is Jeff Welch from Welch Family Homestead. Just in case you're not keeping up with the latest, homesteading, small farmers, people who are focused on being sustainable, making sure that they take care of their families, themselves. Got a big truck going down the highway here full of rock. Give it just a second to get past us here. They put their brakes on, their engine brakes, and makes a lot of noise coming down that hill. Hard workers. They're collecting big rocks for landscaping off the mountains up here, and I have to respect that. So, not sure if you're keeping up, not sure if you're aware of what's going on, but the U.S. Marshals raided an Amish farmer's farm. A gentleman by the name of Amos Miller. Amos Miller is just trying to take care of his family. And the U.S. government is trying to control your food. They're trying to control everyone's food. If they can control your food, they can control you. And we know that. We know the risks. We know that socialism is coming to America, and it's already hit some parts of South America. It's trying to wedge its way into North America, and our government officials seem to be wanting that. And the way they can do that is to control your food, control your sustenance, control the things that you have as what we call necessities. Well, the farmers, which I'm a farmer, I understand necessities. I understand the ongoing hard labor, work, and sacrifice that it takes to get your land to the point where it can provide food for the family. And many farmers, they want to grow enough so that not only can they provide food for themselves, but also provide food for their neighbors, provide food for their customers. And the government wants to regulate all the food. However, they don't want to regulate it to the point to where it's healthy. They want to regulate it to the point to where it's profitable for the government or within the control of certain people. Most all the grocery stores that we know of today, all the grocery chains, all the grocery providers are basically controlled and owned by about 12 conglomerates that control all of our food, all of our major industrial farming, and they're getting closer and closer to controlling not only what you have access to, but the kind of food you eat and what chemicals that it has in it, obviously because they endorse the chemicals into your food, the preservatives, the insecticides, the herbicides, and the chemical fertilizers. And this Amish farmer in Pennsylvania, this is the news right now. This Amish farmer in Pennsylvania was raided. We want to talk about former President Trump being raided. This is worse. When you raid a farmer's farm, you trespass into his farm to demand things to be done a certain way. You come in and shut a man down, fine him over $300,000 based on things like he must have refrigeration set up on his farm, which Amish are off-grid. They don't have the same amenities that other people may have. Now, I have electricity here on the farm. You can see power poles going down the road here, coming up to the barn. And I'm not Amish, but Amish people have a religious right to follow their religion. They have been operating for many, many, many years in a safe capacity. They have a very, very good health rate in comparison to most of the people in the world. They live very healthy. They grow healthy, organic foods. They raise their livestock the same way. They do it much better than any government could give you any type of advice. And yet at the same time, here the government wants to come in and mandate practices based on here is what we demand from you. You must have X amount of preservatives in your food, X amount of chemicals in your food. You must have this type of refrigeration. Now, this Amish gentleman by the name of Amos Miller, he had refrigeration on his site. It was like a tractor trailer set up where it was backed up, and it was operating off of the tractor trailer unit on the trailer, refrigerating that cargo hull of a trailer on the back side of that truck. And but they want it built on his property. They want electricity brought into this facility. They want everything to be done according to the way that the government says it needs to be done, instead of the way his religion says it should be done. Now, I'm not here to endorse or back up the Amish religion. It's got nothing to do with that. However, I respect the way they do things. I respect the fact that they have kept their farming clean. They've done such a great job in not putting chemicals into the ground. I'm organic myself, and I totally respect their methods. They go to the extreme in many, many ways. They do not plow their fields with rubber tires that are made with petroleum. They don't support all these big industries like the petroleum industry and the electrical industry, or any energy industry that's out there. They do their own thing their way. But they've been doing it right for long enough that they should know what they're doing. And this gentleman, Amos Miller, the farmer, he had his group of people that he was selling his meats and crops to based on his membership that he had set up to be able to sell it through. He was doing everything legally. But then here comes the U.S. Marshal system coming in with the power of the USDA and the FDA and all the other agencies coming in to shut him down and fine him. And this is going to be a major, in my opinion, a major Supreme Court decision that's going to be riding its way up the court system. I truly believe that. I hope it does. I hope it wins for the farmer. Because are they coming after the homesteader next? Are they coming after you next? Are they coming after the backyard gardener next? Are they coming after those like you and me next, so that they can prevent us from growing our own food, so they can control our sustenance, so they can control our livelihood, so they can control what we have worked hard to be able to maintain security and food and survival for our children and our families. Now, this may not be something that you take serious, but I take it very serious. I think it is an atrocity the way this is happening. I think this is a sign on the wall of socialism coming to North America. I don't see our government agencies working for the people. They may want to come under the guise that they're trying to protect us. They're trying to protect us from what? Amish clean farming? Is that what? Are they really going to try to pull that on us? Are they really going to try to convince us that this Amish guy that has been farming for years doesn't know things as well as somebody that's going to come out of some government-funded course that someone has taken over a weekend and got their certification to be an inspector? Now, I was a builder for many years, and I can tell you this is how this works with the government inspection system. I'm going to tell you exactly how this works. I was a general contractor for many years, built $1 million plus homes, built a lot of commercial properties, and I did a great job at it. I did the architectural work myself many times, and I had over 170 employees in my construction company, everyone from project managers, superintendents, to employees, carpenters, all the way through the gamut when it comes to general contracting. And I understand it. My father was a general contractor. I was a general contractor for many years. I ran my general contracting business on a professional level, but built everything from high-end homes to schools to banks to hotels, conference centers. I understood and still understand how construction works. I recall hiring a gentleman that came in with a great resume. He had a phenomenal resume, a whole stack of papers to back up his resume. And I hired him on the spot as a superintendent. Sent him out on a job, and I went to check on him about 3 days later. And the crew, that many of them had been working for me for many years, were laughing and calling me on the phone and saying, hey, you got to come over here and take a look at this. Got over there and realized this superintendent really didn't understand or know anything about construction at all. His resume was obviously not backed up by any knowledge or any experience, but he was basically desperate for a job, and he doctored up all his paperwork to get the job. Well, when I got on the job and realized that he didn't know what he was doing, in fact, the crew played a trick on him, and they built an entire wall about 60 feet long upside down. So the windows were at the bottom, doors were at the top of the wall, and the superintendent couldn't even tell that it was wrong. He was basically being proved wrong to me and to everyone who could see that by the crew that knew more than he did. Well, I fired him. I let him go. And a few months later, I was building this multi-million-dollar log home on a private airstrip for an anesthesiologist, which was a client of mine. Major project, just a beautiful project. And it was inspection time. And I had one of my superintendents call me and say, hey, Jeff, you need to come down here. We need to talk. Got down there, and the inspection had taken place, and we had failed the inspection. I said, really? I said, this doesn't make sense. I said, we really have watched things very carefully here. It was a rough vent inspection. And so I looked at the inspection sheet. I scaled down through it, trying to figure out what did we do, what did we not do? Is it anything that was any major issues that would be hard to fix or to correct? What was the issues on the inspection sheet? Sometimes you'll have something that shows up that we'll just miss. I mean, it could be a brace, or it could be a plumber drilled through a joist, and he drilled through the bottom third or the top third instead of the center third of a joist, or something that you just overlook. I thought it'd be something simple. It was a list of things on that inspection sheet that just didn't pass. Then I looked down at the bottom of the inspection sheet and seen who signed off on it, and it was the same exact name of the guy that I had fired a few weeks before that didn't even know anything about construction whatsoever. So I called the county up, the county inspection department, and asked them about the gentleman, because this guy had red hair. I knew what he looked like. I asked what this guy looked like. I wanted to know what he looked like, just so I could say, okay, does this name match this particular individual? Red hair was not a common thing. I mean, it's common, but not that common compared to other colors of hair. If I could narrow it down, I could say it's got to be the same guy. Sure enough, it was the same guy that I fired for lying about his resume to get the job as a superintendent, that a few weeks later then inspected a multi-million-dollar project and turned it down. He failed my inspection, and then I had to have meetings with the county to go over some details with the situation and to figure out what we could do to rectify the scenario. Well, obviously, they looked into it, and they realized they had an inspector there that was carrying a grudge against a builder who fired him, number one. Number two, that he didn't know what he was talking about and didn't have the expertise to be able to do his job as a superintendent, much less an inspector. This is what happens. A government inspector in a construction business, no different than some inspectors going into an Amish farm in Pennsylvania, attacking a farmer as if he didn't know what he was doing or didn't know how to do it, and yet finding him $300,000, putting his life and his livelihood and his farm into a tailspin of destructive behaviors against this family. The government many times does not know what is best and they don't know how to do it. This is a good example. But this is one time I can tell you that you need to be wise, you need to be aware, you need to be informed, you need to wake up, you need to understand what's happening in front of us here in the United States. There is an onslaught of an attack on the individual, not the large conglomerate, not the big commercial farm owners like the Bill Gates that don't know anything about farming, that own more farmland than anyone else in the United States. It's not an attack against those type of people who endorse the chemicals and invest in all the chemical and pesticide companies. The attack is on the individual. The individual who wants to raise enough food for themselves, their family, their neighbors, and a few customers. That's where the attack is at. And it's going to get worse and worse. And we all have to join together and be ready for this. This is Jeff Welch from Welch Family Homestead. I normally come to you with happy stuff and what have you. Today I'm coming to you with, hey, we got to wake up. We got to be together on this. We got to join together, collaborate, and know what we need to do to protect tradition, to protect our food sources, to protect our right. The one thing I can say that is a concern of mine, we have the First Amendment to protect our freedom of speech. We have the Second Amendment to protect our right to bear arms. Our founding fathers did not put anything into the Constitution or the Declaration, anything to protect the farmer. They didn't put anything in there to protect people's ability to grow their own food. There's nothing in the writings. That's a concern of mine, that we do not have any amendments, any type writing within our laws in regards to our Constitution or the amendments that states that the farmer has a right, or the individual has a right, or the family has a right to grow their own food without the government coming in and controlling that. We should wake up, we should stand together, we should put all our efforts together, find the solutions, and be smart about it. If there's ever a time that we should stand together as homesteaders and farmers, it's now. And Amos Miller is the martyr that should be, there should be a statue eventually of this gentleman after all this is said and done. This guy is going through more than he should, and we should all keep up with what's going on right now because it's going to affect all of us. God bless you. This is Jeff Welch signing off from Welch Family Homestead. I hope that you share this with everyone that you know.